Look at this group. Jeez.
Talk about a motley crew.
Well, thanks for joining us on Perception Theory. Obviously, we're running late. We've had some computer issues as of
15 minutes ago.
Yeah, we're 15 minutes late. I mean, we have computer problems. We have it all the time, and I don't know why, but I don't know. It is what it is, and here we are. So
Chat.
Well, I didn't. Chat's not on.
Oh,
I didn't turn chat on because I didn't want. Well, we could put it on. Whoops, no, wrong one. So we could put it on just to see if anybody's there, but
yeah, we won't. Yeah.
So so this is our second live version of Perception Theory, and I'm one of your hosts, Gary.
Tex.
And I'm Ed.
That's Evil Ed. And so what we're doing today, or what we're going to be talking about today, is women in STEM and whether or not it's what's keeping supposedly them out of STEM, whether it's the patriarchy, whether it's modern feminism, or modern feminism kind of skewed, or what. So this is something that I've thought of because there's I have a daughter who's 25, and if there's an issue on where she can't do what she wants to do, like say in a STEM type job, I want to know what the problem is and where the issues are. Where is the influence coming from that supposedly does not allow or keeps women out of STEM?
Yeah, and I tell you what, man, when this shot across my email, I find it very interesting because it's not something that's like spoken about all the time. But yeah, the research on this, and when you look at the numbers and the statistics, are just like, wow. So very eye opening, man. This is a good subject.
Yeah. That would Tex, you got anything?
Agreed. No, of course I'll add like my stuff after. Plus I've had firsthand knowledge because I've taken college classes directly related to STEM, or especially as far as the computer forensics and computer IT class, standard IT classes. So I was there firsthand, and I kind of saw with my own eyes. So I have my own opinion about what I saw. But I'll wait till comments until we start getting into more of the meat of the information.
Okie doke. And if anybody's watching, you can see the chat here. If you're on YouTube, you can just go ahead and throw a chat out if you want to ask a question or comment on something. So let's kick right into it here. So here is this is a little bit hard to see, which I found it's hard.
Big head,
with your big head. But the really one we need to focus on is this one is one way over there.
Here,
next to Ed.
Here.
So if you look at this is the first one's 2011, and this is characters of STEM workforce ages, as you can see, from 18 to 74. Male was 68%, female was 32%, and now in 2021, male is 65%, women are 35, or 65%, women are 35%. So women are increasing, but they're still at a low percentage. Okay, so basically what I wanted to find out is where is the issue coming from. A lot of people would say, well, it's because of the patriarchy, because men or society or this, that, and the other are basically telling women or influencing women that they can't go into STEM. And I said, well, okay, now if you're talking about the 1950s or something, I might be able to go with that. I can't think how long ago was the 50s? 60?
Long time ago.
70? I'm like, so, I mean, you've had generation turnovers in that
sure,
amount
absolutely.
of time, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm like, okay, so let's start. So here's what I'm going to do. So I said, so let's start at the base, okay, at the beginning, and let's deal with parents and teachers, okay? I obviously don't have a statistic on parents, but I do have on teachers. All right, you old fathead. All right, so, and this is a public school system. So 77% of teachers in the public school system are women. 56% are principals, 30% are superintendents. Okay, so let's start here at the beginning. So if there is influence starting in, say, K through 12, so where's that influence coming from? If it's, and then we're talking about strictly right now in the education system. Okay. If the overwhelming majority are women, so is it women that are influencing girls that they can't be STEM? They can't go in STEM?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of crazy because I remember going through school, just like the stats are here, the large majority of my teachers were always female. But when I got to like science, it was always men. I remember like one or two math teachers as being female when I was growing up. But yeah, for the majority of those classes in school, they were mainly men. So
right.
Yeah.
I know one of our favorite science teachers was Mrs. Gilbert.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
But see, okay, so let me just ask this question. So even if you do have a male teacher, I can't, at least in the classes where I've never heard or had a teacher influence a female or a girl and saying, this is a boy's field.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. So, that's because we had Miss Gilbert.
I would say
we had Miss Howard, who was physics.
I would say it was kind of equally split, except for like math. Now in high school and math, I think it was more male because you had Mr. Miller, Mr. Gilbert. You had in high school, it's like at least the math side of the house was male. But I think for as far as science was concerned, and of course we're like older than dirt, so our computer classes were like Commodore 64.
Slate and chalk.
We learned how to plug into Commodore 64
and DOS.
Yeah. But the science teachers, I think, were pretty much evenly split as far as sex-wise was concerned. As far as the teachers were concerned.
Now, just because maybe a science teacher or math teacher was male, does that still influence the girls that this is not your field, right? So again, that's kind of where we get into the question is, where is this influence coming from?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm just thinking back when I started looking up everything, all the research that you did. I remember Christy McCullough. Is it Christy McCullum or Christy McCullough?
Oh, the space shuttle. The teacher that went on the space shuttle.
Yes. Now, unfortunately, it didn't end very well. But I remember at that point, at least to me, it was like, oh wow, this is a turning event for women, because at the time I don't remember any women that were involved in NASA as far as like actually being on one of the flights. I could be wrong.
Yeah, Sally Ride. Sally Ride was the first one.
Okay. She was first.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Sally Ride was the very first.
But even with Sally Ride, there wasn't as much hype,
Right.
as there was with
Christy McCullough.
Christy McCullough.
Yeah. Because that was a big turning point. That was the first name that popped in my head when I started looking into this and doing my own research on it.
Right. So I couldn't find a good visual metric here, but I looked at research to see what the difference in performance between boys and girls are when math. Okay. Now, actually, overall, they said just overall basic, or I guess you would call general study math, girls were better performers in math. However, when it got to something in a certain discipline, whether that may be math, say for engineering, or math specifically for physics, or chemistry, or whatever, then it seems that the boys would kind of go a little bit would perform a little bit better with the girls when there was a focus area.
Okay.
And I couldn't find a good, but
When I think, to kind of touch on that, I think you're right that there's like a split, because when you got basic math, and then when you get into like calculus, which is more like engineering type, and trigonometry, and then accounting. It's like, so that's a lot of math with the accounting or whatever. I taken a couple accounting classes, and females predominantly in accounting and excel at, from what I can see with my eyes, females were overwhelmed, excelled at accounting. So there's math, that type of math. So there's that split.
Sure,
there is, because generally women are a little bit they pay a little more attention to detail. They're more detail oriented in generally.
Sure,
right. So I think like accounting, where you really gotta nail those numbers down.
Well, one thing I would add to that is you're 100% correct. Now, let's go back to the play yard. You can go to any play yard, especially when we were kids, right? And with the guys, we would always play the games like hide and seek, but we were always, the first thing we would do is we're talking about the rules. If you remember, like anything that we did, there was always the rules, and the guys would go over the rules, and the girls didn't really want to play that because they just weren't interested in all the rules. Let's just play. But for guys, everything had to be kind of nailed down and everything, and then it was like, okay, now we can play. Did you guys experience any of that growing up at all? No? Okay. I guess it was just me.
No, a little bit.
Not,
I can see
maybe a little bit, but not to that extent. Usually it's like, I don't know.
But that usually comes, in my experience, that usually came into play if there was like if you were trying to get over on somebody, and it's like, wait, time out. This is the safe area over here. Well, we didn't talk about that. Well, now we're talking about it. Well, this is the new rule, and the girls would just be like with their hands on their hips, like, here they go.
Right.
Here the guys go. 'Cause they didn't. So that I agree with you. The girls just didn't really care.
Right.
The guys only got involved, and I think that's just like a boy thing. The boys were just trying to be, I'm trying to one up each other. So they're like, well, that's not fair. Well, there's no law that says I can't hit you upside the head.
Right.
Well, yes. Well, we're going to make a rule that says, and the girls are just like, well, we just play tag.
Well, I my point with that too is the fact that with the kids, the guys in the play areas, is it was a focus thing. Like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to play hide and go seek. You can't hide over there. You can't hide out there. You can't go in any of the buildings. You have to remain outside. So there was always those, almost like a focal type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like here's the parameters. Maybe that could be something when you look at men, like especially in the older coming up, the fact that because of that whole structure type of thing, maybe that's why men were considered dominant in that area.
It could be. I don't know.
A perspective on that one.
Right. So yeah. So even on that, so it's like, where is the influence coming from?
Right.
So now, okay, so let's take it a step further, and let's take it to professors, right? So now we're moving out of K through 12. Now we're going to college. All right. So again, female professors are 49.8%. Male professors are 50.2%. It's pretty much even.
Right.
Okay. Now, so if you basically got even as far as male and female professors, now here's where I want to take it even a little step further. Now, this is not to get political, but this is just coming into an ideology.
Gotcha.
Right? So most 49% of professors consider themselves liberal. 29.7% consider themselves very liberal, and 19 are moderate, and then got conservative, 25 and 4, right?
That's the Amish,
right
there.
So, and the reason I got this statistic is because if you've ever talked to or talking about liberal leaning or even very liberal professors, they're supposedly about they identify with feminism, promoting females and empowering females, and this and the other, right? So if 50%, if basically 50% of the professors are male, and an overwhelming percentage of them are liberal, which you would consider women empowering and women supporting,
Sure.
right? So that would tell me that then I don't have professors telling women that you cannot go into STEM or influencing them not to go into STEM.
Gotcha.
All right. So K through 12, I don't know where the mystery is there, right? Because it's mostly women. I can't see women saying, "Okay, well, Susie, you can't be." Now we're going into let's say just at least undergrad. So we're talking about 4 years. Let's go with that. I can't see the majority of professors, or I see majority of professors supporting women and stuff, and not saying, "Well, no, that's a guy's game. You can't go into STEM
Gotcha.
or whatever."
Gotcha.
Right? So,
Well, another thing too to think about as far as college is concerned. Okay, K through 12, for the most part, you don't have a choice in what class you go to. You have to take this much math, you have to take this much English, so on and so forth, and you go up. College is a different story because the student signs up to they have to sign up. Yes, you have your general ed classes that you have to take. But then when you get in your specific classes like computers or engineering or math, you have to specifically sign up to go to that. What I see, and this is where you kind of that throws another wrench into it, is you don't have the enrollment in those particular classes of females. My classes that I took at the local college, a female taught. Was the head of the department, taught them most of the classes. But when you go to the class, probably 80% was men, 20% was females. After about 2 weeks, that whittled down to 85% guys or 90% guys and only 10% women because they dropped.
Wow.
So, but that's something I want to get into at a later point in time. But that's the thing with college is so where's the disconnect? Why aren't more females enrolling? Why are they choosing not to enroll?
So are school counselors saying you shouldn't go into that? I doubt that. I doubt that very seriously.
Right.
That's
all right. So again, we'll go through like my stuff, whatever, and then we can always come back around and then pick on whatever.
Absolutely.
All right. So now I'm thinking, okay, what was this one? I forget what this one. All right. So let's talk about maybe social media. All right. So social media users, 53.9% are women, 46.1% are men. So again, we have a higher percentage of women on our social media users than men. Okay. Now you obviously social media. You could have social media in middle school and high school and so forth. Some of these parents they got it in elementary school.
Right.
All right. So, is the influence on social media saying women no longer, STEM is not your deal. You need to go in here. As a matter of fact, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and some other stuff, Facebook, whatever. I see the exact opposite.
Right.
I see a lot of feminists and stuff, and not anything wrong with that, but them talking about empowering women. You can do whatever. I see all this stuff, supporting women. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not seeing that now. I'm not on TikTok, but again, that's just one channel or one platform. So I don't see it there either. Now, maybe that's just what I subscribe to or whatever that comes through my feed.
Right.
But again, I can't see there being an overwhelming majority of feeds saying women don't go STEM. That's the boys' deal.
Right. Now, it's funny, looking at this slide that you have here with social media. So, how like when you'll go out, like I love Cole Haan. We can use a sponsor if you'd like to sponsor me. But the thing of it is, I got to put that dig in there.
Hey.
So the thing is like when you go out and you're looking at a pair of shoes and, you're like, you didn't buy them. You just looked at them.
Yeah.
But then it just kind of like follows you everywhere you go. what I thought was interesting is when I was looking at everything you had done and I was doing my own research, do you realize that nothing followed me? Like there was nothing that, hey, you might be interested in this.
Nobody dropped you any cookies?
Nothing. I didn't get anything. And I just thought about that looking at this slide that you have here. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Because like I'm into philosophy, so I'm always looking online about, colleges and everything in philosophy. It follows me all around. But not one time after I did the research on this, I never got anything that followed me on any STEM programs or anything. Yeah, nothing.
So that's weird.
Well, and also, and I think you might touch on this later, but I'm going to touch on it now. Anyway, I don't care. But if you notice about stuff that you see in media where they're trying to empower girls and stuff like that, what's the main thing? What is the main thing you'll see on TV or whatever that where your commercial or whatever where they're saying they're empowering women? It's like women, just do it. Sports. That's all you see is sports.
Good point.
You see commercials out the wazoo about women playing soccer, flag football, softball, basketball. Just do it. Empower women to play sports. And the airways are flooded with it. So that's one thing I notice is that where are there other commercials? Now I see military commercials where they're trying to promote women, more women involvement in the military. But how many commercials do you actually see where it's like they're promoting, just do it with going into engineering?
Right.
Engineering.
Well, that's because like you said, the sports company, like Nike and whatever else, they're the ones that have all the money,
right?
Absolutely,
and they're taking up all the
space or
the advertising time, and it's all about the sport,
right? So now you get all these young ladies from K through 12 or whatever. It's like, well, I can do whatever I want to in sports. I can play whatever I want to in sports, which is happening. You're seeing them go into more to let females go and play in male sports. There, or sports that were dominated by males. But it's like, okay, so like 1% or 2% of college students, if that, I'd have to look the numbers up, go to play professional. What are you going to do? How are you going to make a living?
Right. And that's a big thing with college, period. Like the football players, things like that. They focus so hard from like Pee Wee League on up on these sports. And then it's like, God forbid you get hurt. Your college season is over. You didn't get drafted or anything like that. So it's like, now what do you do?
But and I think it's especially more towards, possibly more towards females because it's the female athlete compared to the male athlete. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of male athletes that take classes in college that are like, what the hell are you going to use that for?
Right.
Basket weaving.
Yeah.
Underwater basket weaving.
Classic.
Yeah. Right. All right. So here's all. This is journalism, okay? Or journalists, right? Among U.S. journalists. Now, when we talk about jurists, reporting journalists are those who indicate they are reporting, editing, creating original news stories, and that they have one of the following jobs as a reporter, columnist, writer. But you see all that, okay? Now, so now you see. Now see, here's where the funky thing is. Look at sports. 83% men, 15% women. Government and politics, 60-39. Tech, science and tech is even 58-38. Economy and business, you can see it's starting to get more even. Right. Entertainment and travel is more women. And then social issues and policy, women. Education and family and health is more women. But here's the thing. The point I'm trying to make is all reporting journalists are 46% women. Okay? So, is the news media the one that's influencing women that STEM is not the field for them?
That's a good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I don't see a news story or whatever, and you can even say nuanced or whatever, or how they promote the story or what stories they promote, right? Kind of leans them against. But even watching news, I don't see where they're any story that they're doing or even angle on a story has to do with, that is a men's field. It's physics, that's men, or that's chemistry, that's men.
Yeah.
Again, and so again, you have half of them, almost half are women. They're creating the stories and researching everything else.
Right.
So do you have women researching to say women shouldn't be in STEM?
No.
I just don't. My thing is, you just don't see them. You might see a figurehead, or you might see somebody that's on the television that's before you, that's saying that so and so's this reporter's a expert in this field, but they're not you don't see any type of promotion of. Yeah, they're not promoting it to other women as far as what I can see. Which I don't know if that's done purposefully or if it's just a part of what I don't know. But I do see them on television. You do see, and some of the CEOs of some of these companies are, especially tech companies, are women. But it's like, well, how come you're not hearing anything more from them? I don't know.
Yeah, like get in the field,
Yeah.
So so that's kind of my point, that I'm trying to build this narrative of like, well, where is the influence coming from?
Right.
So let's keep on then. All right. So let's look at marketing advertising professionals. Now they're 69.5% female, 30% male. So again, marketing advertising professionals. They're the ones that are picking and deciding and doing the advertising and everything for. Now, is it the advertising women executives? Almost 70% are they the ones influencing girls that you shouldn't do STEM?
No, absolutely not.
So again,
where's it coming from?
That's why I'm generating these statistics, because again, you have almost 70% of advertising, marketing and advertising professionals are women.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I'm just kind of thinking here, with that being said, that women, the women market is on the rise. Like before, we're going over, everything was dominated with men. Women know how to attract other women to buy a product,
right,
or to look a certain way. So I can definitely see that. But I agree with you. I mean, I'm sure I've never seen an article from a woman that says, "Hey, you know what? You don't want to get involved in STEM." I've never seen that before.
Right.
So I agree with you 100%. But you also do not see them promoted either.
Right.
They're not. So on one hand, they're not saying don't go into STEM, but on the other hand, they're not promoting it as well, especially as far as some of their male counterparts are concerned.
Right.
You see more males promoting the profession that they're, a profession or whatever, than you do the female. It's like social media. Let's go back to social media. Your quote unquote influencers, especially female influencers and male influencers as well. It's all about, what is it about? Popularity, fashion, how I'm going to look, how you're going to look. I'm going to make you look better. Shopping, in just superficial bullshit.
Right.
They're not talking about. There's no. So they're not discouraging STEM, but they're definitely not promoting it. There again, in order to be this influencer where I'm making $1 million, well, what are you influencing? What are you peddling? Oh, nothing. I just get in front and I do some dances and stuff like that. So this younger generations were like, well, shit. That's all I need to do is just sit there and do some stupid dance moves on there, and as I get 1 million followers, why do I need to get a job doing anything else? So but they're not promoting it.
But to that, how many commercials, how many media outlets, how many of this do you see promoting that for men too?
Not a whole lot.
I don't see men coming up here and say, "Hey, you ought to be an engineer, and we're engineering because we're better in math and this and the other, and that's what you.
Right.
All right. So when you don't, so I don't see it promoting men either.
Right.
So where is the influence coming
Right.
from?
Exactly.
Right. So here's we go. Percentage of U.S. authors by gender. 2019. 45.6 are men. 54.4 are women. Women are authors. Are you not writing about women who are, maybe biographies biographies of a woman, in that? Or are you writing stories where women are, engineer or whatever, even in the storyline or whatever else?
Right. And
Or are you doing a romance?
Yes.
well, I agree with you. And there's a movie, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. It came out, I believe it was last year or maybe the year before, about the women that worked for NASA.
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
remember the name of the movie, but that was like
Hidden something.
Hidden Numbers or Hidden.
Something like that. It's
Yeah.
something, yeah.
But that's the only thing I've seen thinking about it, about STEM. Now, the question is, I don't know who wrote the book, what gender wrote the book,
Right.
but I mean, looking at this is the only thing I can think of was that movie.
But again, if I feel that women are out there promoting women or encouraging women, you got more than half
Right.
are authors.
Right.
Again, and I think okay. Here's my last one. So, top women business statistics in 2024: 42% of all U.S. businesses are owned by women. Women-owned business have growth 114% up. Startup by all women teams only receive 1.9% of venture capital funding, though. About half of all startups in the U.S. are founded by women. 1/3 of business worldwide are owned by women. Business with gender diversity executive teams, 25% more likely to have above average profitability. So again, everything that I'm researching in every aspect, whether that's the education coming up, whether that's marketing, whether that's but in many cases, once children get past elementary school and sometimes before, gender stereotype roles have already been established. By who? That's what I'm trying to find out.
Right. Who is it? That's
Okay, I
doing this?
might go with you there to Miss Wendy, but who are they established? If we've already determined based on these facts that marketing, the teachers, social media, all this stuff are apparently either dominated or at least half with women, then where is who's still doing the gender stereotypes?
Probably
If,
depending.
like I said, I'm sorry, but if we're talking about back in the 50s or 60s, maybe. We're talking about 2023.
Right. Yeah, and you have.
That's all I'm asking.
What was it? 100 and what was the percentage of business with women? Like 42%.
42% of all U.S. businesses
Right.
are owned by women.
Correct. So why isn't, first off, the gender wall, I agree with what Wendy has said, but I mean, obviously that wall has been broken for women that can run businesses.
You walked into a toy department lately?
No.
Well, yeah, I have. But again, I have men or boys' toys as trucks and this and the other. I don't see a whole wall of science kits that says all they're on the boys section and this and the other. Just because you have, like, say, a Barbie doll or something in the women's section, you have the same thing in the men's section. Now, I guess Legos might be maybe one of the different things.
Right.
Because Legos, I think, is kind of more of it's creative, but it's kind of an engineering mind because you're building.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, you're not really having a lot of promotion with men or boys in these either.
Correct.
Like I said, you got action figures and trucks and cars and stuff like that.
I'd be curious, that is my thought, I'd be curious because I still think, and especially in certain areas, that peer influence and parental influence has a lot to play. And I'd be playing this, and I'd be curious as to see more research, like maybe at a later point in time, doing research on how much peer influence, because especially when you're young, you are influenced by your peers, and you do still have parents that even though it's not the 50s, because that'd be great, that'd be grandparents and great grandparents, and they don't even remember where they're at half the time. But like our generation, they're still molding, they still have that influence on their kids. So other than the outside influence, not having that, we're seeing that where that disc, we're trying to figure out where that's coming from. Could it be still from peers and parents in certain areas?
But what influence? What influence are you talking about?
But by dad telling Susie, "Oh, honey, you don't want to go. No, you don't do that sort of thing. That girls usually do this and this," or mom saying that.
Right.
I'm just saying that.
And now, granted, there's some shitty parents. I understand that, but I don't understand. Like even my dad, or whatever, he didn't say as a boy, "Hey, you're going to go into this, that, and the other," right?
Right.
So where is the influence? You think there's parents actually saying you're not going to, you shouldn't be doing that?
Well, I guess the other thing.
I mean, I'm talking about like say in the last, let's say last 20 years.
Right. Well, I mean, but think of it this way too. Okay, so let's just say for the sake of argument that I am an engineer. Yeah, I'm a male. I have a child. Regardless of the fact of whether it's female, male, whatever, I mean, wouldn't I want to try to influence my child to, you might want to stay in the area that I'm in simply because there's so much growth and there's not many women that are in that.
And it pays very, very well.
Absolutely.
And that's I'm a program manager, and I run a cyber security shop, right? I would say out of 20, 25, probably even closer, we'll go 25. 25 resumes that I get, I might have 2 that are female,
Wow.
right? And it's not like I'm like, oh, 2 females, I'm not even going to look at them.
Right.
I'm not hiring them. The thing is that's all I'm getting, right? And I'm not saying I would necessarily take a female over a male, but in our discipline, females who generally pay a lot, like I said before, a lot more attention to detail. When you're doing cyber like threat analysis stuff, I would rather have, say, a female that is more detail oriented, or more not articulate, but what do you call it? Anyway, just more detail oriented, and about that kind of stuff, and dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Absolutely.
But I get maybe 2, and one of them, and like usually it might be like one of them is not qualified.
Gotcha.
Right? Has some good stuff, but is just not qualified enough for me to give her a job. But I get so if you cut it down, you're looking at 1 out of 20 couple. For every 20 couple male resumes I get 1 female that's qualified.
That's a shame. And
right?
right back to your question, though, why? Why is this?
And I could be wrong, whatever. So I'm just trying to figure out, where is the influence coming from?
Sure.
Well, and see, another thing too is, like you said, I think it was Hidden Figures. I think that's what the movie was called.
That's it. Yes.
And so you do see movies and stuff that promote this. So let's look at the M side, because we haven't really touched on the M part of STEM, which is mechanical. Okay, so you see on shows where like women mechanics, either they're automobile mechanics, but in real life, it's like I go to get my car worked on, get the oil changed, and it's all you see working in the back is men. You might have a female, at the intake, taking it in or whatever, but almost everybody back is male. So, or is that like when it comes to planes, where all the, but you see it.
Right.
There is promoting it. They're trying to, but why aren't we seeing a higher increase?
Actually, it was math. Yes.
Oh, it's math.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was mechanical
It's
or math.
science,
Or math.
technology,
Which I'm
engineering, and math.
That is correct.
And math.
So,
But just real
But
quick,
it's-
No.
just going on what she said. So, but they still might be buying them Barbies instead of Legos. Okay, granted, let's go with that. But if you're telling me the simple fact that I bought my son a box of Legos and I bought my daughter, say, a Barbie doll, that right there is telling me I have just nailed them in to their
pigeonholed
future for the rest of their lives. I don't, especially with I say at least I'll say even we'll go 10, 20 years. At least the last 10 years has been very, very, I'm going to say liberal, but they've been very promoting of, females in all these things. So I'm like, again, but even then, even if it's just buying them a toy or something, I don't see parents, and to be honest, parental, parenting has gone down as far as percentage-wise.
right.
And then most of the parents in that there's not the nuclear family are single mothers.
Right.
So then it's the mothers. It all contributes, though. I get that, but excuse me, I don't understand. I don't see that beats a girl down to say you can't have that. You can't, because even with boys they don't do that.
Well, not only that, but going back to the Barbie example, now Barbie's doing everything. Barbie, you've got astronaut Barbie, you've got veterinarian Barbie, so you've
Still
got
a Barbie.
Right.
Yeah, but
I
she's
guess.
I don't know, but yet she's all this. She's not the blonde-headed bimbo that she was back in the 50s, where she just hung out at the pool with
Do you
Ken.
know who she really was? Like, honest to God, do you know who she really was?
Uh-oh, you're gonna tell us
I am.
who?
So, Barbie obviously was designed by a man, and if I remember correctly, it was a German man, and was based off of
Ilsa.
a prostitute.
Oh well.
It was based off of a prostitute.
Right. So again, I mean, we're not. I'm obviously not smart enough, and I know these two aren't. But but so we don't. So I'd like to see like some of the psychological, which I tried to look up some of this stuff.
Yes.
Some of the psychological studies. So here's one thing I will say this. So I'm a huge huge follower of Jordan Peterson.
Yes.
And Jordan Peterson has laid out statistics out the wazoo, especially in the Scandinavian countries, where they did a 20-year study where they did not push for men or women any gender roles or this, that, and the other, right? And marketing and any of that stuff. And what they found out is when left to their own devices, actually the men and women actually split further. Like more women decided to go into like he'll tell you, like in general, men are more interested in things, women are more interested in people. Right? So when women most of the time make a decision in a discipline or a whatever, they'll go to where there's more interaction or what have you. Guys are more interested in stuff, in things, and whatever.
Right.
So he says in Scandinavian countries, when they did this, more women went to non-STEM jobs, and more men did. When you even pull back all the influence.
Right.
And so that's what I'm like. Okay, that psychological study tells you right there. Again.
Sure. So I'm going to jump in.
Go, baby, go.
So what I was looking at, again, this intrigued me. So when I looked up STEM for women, first thing that popped up was NASA. It was a sponsored thing from NASA, which I thought was very interesting. And if you click on it, it goes through, women and everything else. But the STEM, And they do have programs for women that do want to get involved in these STEM programs.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was very interesting. The other thing, which I think I texted you earlier this week, that NASA is accepting applications for astronauts. Now, we're talking thousands upon thousands of applications that have come in. And what they were saying is the statistics show, just like you've showed here, like before it was men, and now it's slowly starting to become women is catching up with the men. And what I thought was interesting too, is that to even be involved in this, you have to have a master's in a STEM program. That's just the way it is. Even if you want to be considered, that was one of the prerequisites, which I thought was interesting. So in order for it to be close, there's women that are obviously in STEM programs. So why isn't it being put out there?
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. One of the other things a couple things that I had found, one of the biggest things that was hit on was the lack of models, the lack of role models in the female STEM programs. Now, if you look back, you have, who was it, Curry? I mean, there's a lot of women throughout the years that have done amazing things for projects, as far as like medicines and things like that. So I don't know why the issue now is a lack of role models. Because like if you look through the history of women and some of the things that have been created by women in the medical fields and things like that, where is there a lack of role models? I mean, is it because there's no one new as a role model? We're only basing the role models off of women that have been eons ago?
Well, see, I don't that I kind of don't understand either, because in the computer world, in tech, like out in Silicon Valley, there's a lot, not really, but there's quite a few women CEOs that run those tech companies.
Right.
But normally you don't hear anything about it.
Right.
You don't, unless they're running, unless there's something political thing. It's that for instance, when RFK Jr. announced who his vice presidential candidate was, never heard of her before, but she's a big deal in the tech world. She's got millions of dollars from and she's been in tech. Never heard of her.
Right.
The woman that the CEO of Hewlett Packard, HP. You didn't hear about anything about her until she was I think she was trying to run for some office or anything like that. But you're right. It's like, what's going on?
Right.
It's a good question.
Because my point is, if you have most of the platforms or outlets or whatever that you would promote that or highlight any of that stuff, women are significantly involved in those platforms.
Right.
Why are they not? And again, let me just state this. This is not a bash on women. What I'm trying to figure out is, where is the influence or the lack of influence? Because I'm not understanding, where all this stuff is. Again, like I said, if and I agree with Wendy that something about the stereotypes, but if we're just going to continue that the 1950s stereotype is the same thing we're dealing with,
right?
That's only going to hold so much water,
right? So
what is the influence? Is there influence of that, or is it just because? And again, this is just a question. I'm not stating this is what it is. Is in the female mind or their desire or whatever not to be in an engineering type field?
Let's hear it.
Are you done with your?
No, I've got more, but no, you.
No,
do your
I was going to say, because there was all right. Let's do this real quick. This was a study I actually found. I think this was conducted over in England, with our British friends, which couldn't
Oh
be
yeah,
with us today.
that's a real.
They couldn't be with us here today. But this was done. It was a survey. It was conducted by. I'll make sure I get this right. By the Institution of Engineering and Technology, and the survey went out between 2001 UK adults, actually between January and April of this year. So, and one of the things they mentioned here was women make up 29% of the current STEM workforce. That's over in England. The government UK, over 1 million women now work in STEM occupations. So then they asked these 2001.
What? So you said what? So I'm just curious. So this is I think this is U.S.
Yeah, over in England they said women make up 29% of the STEM workforce.
Okay, so in 2020, yeah, so 35, 30. Okay,
so it's about
it's close. It's not
close.
Right there, but yeah, go ahead. It's close.
So here, when they asked women, it's like, are you currently working in STEM? 10% said yes, no, and I do not plan to. 76.86%. Why, if any reason, did you not pursue a career in STEM after your studies? Found a different interest to pursue as a career. 30.83. Lack of opportunities. 24.17. No particular reason. 17.5. Then there were some other ones that get lower. But I thought it was interesting. It's like, found a different interest to pursue as a career is the main reason why 30.83 females.
Real quick. So when you said the first one where it's like, was it no, I don't, and nor do I intend to?
Right. 76%, actually almost 77% of the respondents on this survey, females, stated that they did not plan to go into STEM at all. Didn't even think about it.
I'm not in STEM, nor do I plan to.
Exactly. That's a pretty bold statement.
That is.
There.
So here's another interesting thing. What, if anything, do you think the benefits would be working in STEM? I don't think there are any benefits to working in STEM. 35.63% was the top responding. Doing an interesting job, 26.24%. Better pay, 24.59%. And so then let's see here. It goes down. Okay, here we go. Which of the following statements most resonates with you? Men and women are equally encouraged into STEM careers, 29.64%. And it says men are encouraged into STEM careers more than women, 15.74%. Women are encouraged into STEM careers more than men, 8.2%. So there again, there's not that big of, on either side, sexes. Neither one of them are really getting encouraged to go in. And then none of the above is 46%.
None of the above.
Right.
Was 46.
Yep.
Huh.
Wow.
Let me see here. Let me get to one. There's another one in here. I think. Okay, here we go. Here's one. Can you name any women who've made significant contributions to STEM in the STEM fields? Yes, 8.35.
No shit.
No, 59.67%. Not sure, 31.98. And then here it says something, you currently work in STEM. Have you ever witnessed or experienced gender-based discrimination in your workplace? Yes, 36.97%. No, 48.82%. So there again, you can't, that's a relatively even number. You can't really sit there and say that. So here the survey just makes it seem that it caveats onto you. There's a lack of interest. They just don't want to do it. It doesn't interest them. Well, and thinking about it is like from a guy point of view, from my point of view, sitting down and doing that stuff is you're a lot of times you're by yourself for your work, and it's just like, it's very structured and very, and like you said, and I agree with you 100%. I think a lot more females like interaction. They like that. They don't. When taking the computer classes I took at college, I had more females drop out of the computer. We had like the last day to drop was like 2 weeks after the classes started. I guarantee almost my computer forensics class that I took, I had like one female left in the class after 2 weeks, and I think there was like 6 that were originally in the class. And they just left. They're just like, I'm not interested in doing this type of stuff. I thought it was, I'm trying to get my degree in this, but I don't want to do that. It just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving.
So I tried, or I thought about it later on, or late, and I should have thought about it earlier. But anyway, so I tried to get statistics on it, or at least the thing. I read them, I just couldn't print them out. But they are saying where women are dominating the medical field.
Oh, wow.
So the medical field, I know it's not traditionally STEM,
Right.
but so many things in the medical field, chemistry, and now, granted, you're dealing with people too, but
That's what M stands for, is medical.
yeah, medical STEM. But but they're dominating there's way more women in the medical field than men. And so that was just one thing. I was going to try to pull the thing, but anyway, go on with, you got some.
So, this one here I got from stemwomen.com. Core STEM, and this is female grads. In 2015, it was 25%. 2016, it was 24%. 2017, 2018 were close at 25 and 26%. And then in 2019 is 26% also. So it seems like in 2018 and 2019, there was a slight growth.
You say these are graduation?
Correct. Female grads.
Right.
So the other thing is women in STEM workforce. 2016 was 21%, and that was like 803,000. 2017 was the 23%, which was 865,000. 2018 was 22%, which was at almost 1 million. And then in 2019, it was at 24% with over 1 million women in the STEM workforce. One of the other things that I saw, which you've already put up here, so I'm not going to go over it again, was the 34% of workforce globally in STEM. And that was from the post-university blog on 3/6/24, so it was pretty recent. 40 to 50% end up leaving the STEM workforce after 5 to 7 years on the job.
Really? What is it?
It was 40 to 50%, and that was from Forbes, and that was in February 20th to be exact, at 2024. So again, it's a pretty recent article that was put out there. And one of the other things that I saw too, which goes back to the STEMwomen.com, STEM still associated with masculine qualities, leading to stereotypes that discourage women from pursuing, was one of the other big things that I found out, along with that lack of role models, which I thought was very interesting.
Okay. So again, that's kind of where I kind of get into, like, what's, now maybe as a guy, I'm not keying in on that.
Right.
But I'm not seeing a negative or a, I don't know, of stereotype where it has men with all this stuff. Like, say for instance, one thing I was thinking before, if you look at some of the like a lot of the gas companies, right?
Right.
I think especially like Exxon, they're talking about they're doing all this research in geothermal and all this other stuff, right? And you see on their commercial, so many females in their commercial, with the hard hat on, and they're walking on the scaffolding and stuff, and just saying, we're working on this and that and molecular whatever, and so I see that, but I don't see anywhere where verbally or like on TV or written where they're saying men should be engineers or STEM and women should be in the house, whatever.
Right.
Where is that at?
Because I could see it now. They see, that's the thing. They put those commercials on there, and I could sit there and say, "Hey, Deborah, you see that? Is that something that looks like you want to get into?" No. I'm not gonna walk around an oil drill with a hard hat on. I don't want to do that. And I think that's a bit. There's not a lot of guys either. Look at
nowadays, yes.
Look at the stereotype, the stereotypical guy, that's in these fields. Most of them have. Now this is just generalities and stereotypes, but they're like kind of loners. They're introverts. They're kind of keep to themselves. The 80s and stuff like that have always pictured these guys as being nerds, where having the pocket protectors and the glasses, they're the ones that are, and you always see the commercials where they're working on something. Scientists, they're working on their Bunsen burner, doing whatever, and it's like, oh, are you married? No, I'm not married. Or they just don't have, so they box these guys in that you have to be a certain type of guy.
So you're right. So the stereotype is more of not a masculine, it's a nerd.
Right.
Who's
exactly
right.
And so I just don't think I can definitely see, especially in a computer field, and that's the only thing I can speak of because I can't stand math. But the classes I've taken in the computer field, it's very tedious. It takes a certain type of person to actually want to do it and have interest in doing it. And I just don't think on a large scale that a lot of women, at least not right now, don't have any interest in doing it. Now, what I would be curious about, though, is looking at it from a world point of view, because I think I could be wrong, but I think I see more females from like over in Asia and stuff like that. We're talking India, talking China, Japan, that are more, that you would see more in a STEM type of career than in the U.S. So is there something that they're doing? Is it a cultural thing? Is it a cultural thing where that we've been talking about it, that it's a lot of culture here in the States that it kind of contributes to why there's this mystery of why women aren't in that field. But over in Asia and even in Europe, you probably see more females in STEM stuff over in Germany, Scandinavia, like Sweden, Norway, than here in the States. So is there something is there a disconnect that the United States, is there a cultural issue? And I'd like to see the numbers. I'd be curious as if like down the road we can actually pull numbers from that. It's like, okay, so let's go ahead and break it down by geographical areas in the world. Okay, what is female STEM look like throughout the world? And see if there is that cultural, if there's something here in the States that we're just like, we just don't get it compared to the other countries.
So with our discussion here and all the research that has been done, I have two things that keep resounding in my head here. One would be education. So if you look at, in general, men and women that are in the STEM programs, what is their education? And what I mean by that is, did you go to a private school or did you go to public school? Did you grow up with money or
poverty?
Yes, that type of thing. Again, that's just kind of something I'm thinking about. And I think the other thing too is social media. Simply because, like, it's not the in thing. Mm-hmm. It's not a focus.
It's not flashy.
Right.
It's not flashy. You're not on the cover of a magazine, or you don't. How many STEM people do you see? How many mathematicians do you have 1 million followers?
Right. But again, where is that influence coming from?
Right.
Is it coming from the patriarchy or men, or is it coming from women who aren't promoting? They're promoting, like, and so there's this comedian you probably know named Bill Burr.
Yes.
Right. And Bill Burr does this thing where he talks about the WNBA,
yes,
and how the women do not support it, and it's subsidized by men and this and the other. But he made an interesting point. in the fact when he said, you guys don't watch women's sports. You won't go to a WNBA game. You don't watch women's soccer, blah, 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 blah. But you guys will watch like The Bachelorette and the Kardashians.
Right.
And you'll do whatever. And I'm not talking about all women and not trying to blast women.
Right.
What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, if that's what women are promoting amongst themselves, or at least discussing and whatever else, then, and I'm not saying that that's exactly what it is, but then I would think the influence, so again, where is the influence to not do STEM? Or is it because within their circles and how they, with other women and this and that, is that not a desire and it doesn't interest them?
Right.
That's my conclusion. All right, and there's plenty more we need to look at.
Sure.
Plenty more we need to look at. But if I'm going just on, like you said, just the research we've done, what I've seen in my own life as far as, and like I said, with people coming, to me as far as, jobs and whatnot, I think it's partly women are not interested in it, and two, I think amongst themselves or whatever, they're not promoting it. I don't think it's the stereotype because I don't know where the stereotype comes from.
Right.
I don't see the stereotype in commercials.
Right.
In education, like.
I agree.
Where is?
Especially
I would
now.
love to know where it is.
I agree.
Well, we can just cut it right out. It's not the patriarchy.
No.
They just cut that. That's
Right.
that unless you're like up in the
Yeah,
up
but
in
that's
the
a
woods
lot.
somewhere.
That's a lot where it's blamed
Right.
Which is a crock. Well,
as a
that's
patriarchy.
that's what
And I'm
they-
not trying to go against men versus women, but I'm saying
Sure.
if you're saying that, I would like to know where the hell. Matter of fact, the more of the patriarchy I see is them telling men that that toxic masculinity and this and that, and they're making guys go to like betas. That's where I see.
That's the millennials coming up.
Well, yeah,
So-
and I agree because going back to the one slide that you had up there, the women growth in business is 42%, and they're making huge gains in profit. What was it, like 119%, I think it was, on growth, 114. So as far as that, the whole stereotypical thing back in the day is that, the nice cottage, the white fence, that type of thing is done. The numbers right there prove it, that boundary has been broken. And, it's just the question of, just like you're searching for the answer, is what is the lack? Why isn't it being promoted?
Well, see, you're talking about a different animal, because in my management classes, there was a lot of equal part women and men in those classes, and I think women get really keyed, really get geared up towards that because they're very creative. You have to be, especially if you want to start up a business, you have to be creative. You have to have the idea to translate it, especially if they want to sell a clothing line, or if they're going to start like a pet walking business or whatever. They have to have that, and they get motivated. They have that. So it's a different thing, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of that. And if you look at the businesses that they're starting up, a lot of it is related to that. It's okay, what's needed in the community. It's not necessarily anything that has nothing related to STEM. I'll
Right.
tell you that, so I think so you have that there, and maybe a lot of women are seeing that. They're like, why do I want to go into this when my next door neighbor, Marge next door started her own business, and she's doing pretty good locally. She's making stuff from alpacas or whatever, and she's selling it at the markets and stuff like that, and she's doing her own thing. She's on social media. I think I want to try and do something like that.
Right.
But you don't see it. There again, it goes back to that STEM is not glamorous. It's
Right.
there's nothing that gets you excited about STEM. ooh, I just figured out this math problem in it. Ooh, you know, it's like, whoa.
Right. No, I
But
see what
there's-
you're saying. And
But I think that's one of the reasons why you're seeing that, because I think when there is that motivation.
sure. But the biggest thing is that the whole wall, that whole gender wall type
Right.
of thing, it's been broken down.
Oh yeah, especially
It's been broken down. I mean, you know, those days of the men being the dominant, you know, they're working and the women stay home with the children, and those days are gone. They're gone for the most part, unless you're born into money.
up in, or you live up in the hills.
Right. But that's the thing, is that, you know, women have definitely made a huge impact for women as far as growth. I mean, it was into the 60s, I think, where women just had the right to vote. And that's not that long ago. But they have definitely,
Right.
women have grown so much, and it's awesome to see it. But again, back to your question.
Right. And see, there's so many things, like when you talk about the women's right to vote, right? There's so many things that we can get into and learn, because if you've researched why women were allowed to vote,
Right.
was because so they can take responsibility, and therefore responsibility means workforce, taxes, and then the government says we can tax them.
Yep.
We're missing all this tax revenue. There are so many things we could get onto as to. I don't want to diminish the progression of women, but a lot of stuff was opened not because of
Gotcha.
we want
Good
to promote
intentions.
women.
About
Yeah.
money.
It's because we want to do this
Revenue.
or do that, or
Right.
and they saw that especially in World War II, when a lot of the guys were out fighting,
Right.
and they had all these women go, and there were
Rosie
Work-
the Riveter.
Yep, they were working in the factories and stuff, and they were like just kicking ass, and they're like, well, shit, we're missing a whole demographic. We could be
Right.
Cha-ching.
so. There's so many things we can dive into
Sure.
with this stuff. And again, Jordan Peterson also, just real quick, and I'm done. Jordan Peterson also makes it out as to where men are more analytical, and women, for the most part, generalities, women are more emotional. So where something like, I think what the text said, where there's something they can get that excites them, they see this, and just looking at this, women-owned businesses have grown 114%. I like to see, or even the 42% of all U.S. businesses owned by women. I would like to see what those businesses are.
That's what I mean.
Good point.
Probably,
Good
like
point.
you said, probably not an engineering firm. You might get a sprinkle in there, but I
Right.
guarantee it's probably not an engineering firm or this or that.
I guarantee.
I'd like to see what those numbers, or what the numbers are, actually what they are.
I can almost guarantee it's either making something, manufacturing something, or a service related.
Right.
A service related business,
a
whether
good
it be like looking, babysitting, dog walk, or something related to service,
Or even
Not-
like, where they make. I mean, look at Etsy.
Yes. Huge.
Etsy, males and females are different, so programs, especially early on, need to be geared toward those differences. Kids decide early on what their interests are. Okay,
That's true.
But Wendy, but do the program, or do the institutions greatly influence where the males or females are based on the programs that they offer? That's she says the geared to those differences. So
See, I was saying, that was going to be my last point. Is I think some of this, a big chunk of this also lies in the education, because the way we educate our kids and the way we were educated is a hell of a lot different than how the kids are educated over in Japan, and how
Right.
they're educated over in Asia, in India, and stuff like that. They're light years ahead of us, and especially when it comes to math. You have any math competition or whatever like that, so it's like, what are they doing that they're exceeding and excelling in this particular discipline that we're sorely lacking on? And it's like, why are we sorely
I would like to
lacking
see
on
the
that?
numbers of how many women, let's say in Japan or whatever, actually go and work in a STEM type field. I would love to see that. I mean, look it up later.
Because Japan is still
right.
Our patriarch is still very much a patriarchal.
Right. But like you said, if they instill a lot of math and that type of education in them, I'd be really interested to see do they even go into those disciplines as a job.
Good point. Good.
Elementary school, they are given the same content. I'm talking about outside programs. Oh.
Well, that changes it.
See, then you're look. So one club I could talk, we're talking about, which really doesn't have anything to do with STEM. What kind of is like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, right?
Okay.
Kind of different fields, but then the Girl Scouts wanted to do the Boy Scouts because they wanted to do the camping and stuff like that.
They did
but that's not. But it's not a completely different. Sides, because it's like, engineering and this and the other. No, they just wanted to do.
What the guys are doing.
But see that. Well, I threw the bullshit off flag on that a long time ago because my mom was she led a Girl Scout troop and they went camping all the damn time. So I don't know where they basically did a lot of what the Boy Scouts did. They went camping. She took a whole. God bless her. Maybe that's why she's crazy. But she took a whole bunch of little girls out camping. So they went. So they did. If you ask me, the whole thing with the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts was this whole horse shit about, well, we can, about this. It was about doing gender stuff. They basically did the same type of stuff. Now, in Girl Scouts, they did talk more about
cookies.
What? Yeah, selling cookies. We never got to sell cookies.
No, we got popcorn.
We got popcorn.
Popcorn.
Or way back in the day, it was that freaking ass.
I had that Tom
chocolate.
Watt. Well, we had chocolate, and I had when I remember I was in Cub Scouts, we had the Tom Watt kit where you had all the little stationery. You could buy stationery and pens. It was like a potpourri, and you go to your neighbors, and you're like, I don't want any of this. I want these Chinese tidbits. But it's like, there is a difference between what the Girl Scouts, what the Girl Scouts did, and what the Boy Scouts did. But they both went camping. They both did. So now they're merged. I mean, they're separate still, but they're merged basically. So it's like So that excuse is blown out of the water. So
that's what I'm saying. So where is it?
Yeah.
That's my final question. Squirrel. Look at it.
Yeah.
So that's my final question. Where's the influence?
Right. Right, and
or is it because they just for the most part are not interested in those fields generally?
I think that's
not all. You got someone's out there, but are generally they're not, or are they influenced to not want to do that? That's my question.
And that's a good thing. Speaking about women's sports, you have March Madness, everything going on, and then you have is it Caitlin Clark?
Mm-hmm.
Now. My question is, what if there was a Caitlin Clark in STEM? Would it take off at that point?
There may be, but the point is, it won't be promoted like March Madness or something, or like Serena Williams, right? She was promoted out the ass, right? I don't say we'll never, but I don't think you're ever going to get a rock star for STEM.
But see,
right.
But see, you brought and that kind of goes back to your point from the beginning of the show. Role models. There's been a lot of female role models in the STEM field, and there still are. But it's that my camp, just me. I just don't think they're interested. It is not something that clicks or resonates with them, and and I hate, and I understand it's a lot of females because there's this push, female equality, this whole equal stuff or whatever like that. But I'd also think it doesn't. There's a lot of men too that aren't interested in doing STEM either. But especially for women, they're just like, I don't want to do it. I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in math. I'm not interested in science. I'm not interested in doing shit on a computer other than social media. It's just not there. Or especially engineering. Engineering is but there are those female, but they don't get talked about. Krista McAuliffe, you brought up her. A school teacher, went up, trained with the astronauts, went up in the Challenger, and it blew up. It exploded. And you heard a lot about her. She was promoted. There was a lot of promotion about her, and as well deserved. And her and the other astronauts shortly after that. But then it is typical in this country and probably everywhere else. But it's just like over time, it just fades away. It's like September 11th. Everybody September 11th, and it just fades away.
See, but they could find that next. It may not be an astronaut, but it may be some women here. But part of what I'm trying to understand is, if there's so many females, and all of these what I would call influential, places,
sure,
as education, as marketing, as this, as that, or whatever else. Why are we not promoting?
Right. That's a good question. That's a very good question. And I'm
because somebody obviously thinks the money's not there.
Right.
That's
yeah. We can do some more digging. I don't know.
I would make an ad.
I don't know honestly if we're ever going to find an answer. I think it may be one of those questions that just doesn't have an answer.
Right. That's part of my whole thing with this was to push at, or dive through all the minutia and all the bullshit.
Right.
About it's this, it's that, this, and the other.
The men are the ones keeping the
and
women.
again, not bashing women or this, but I wanted to do actual research to find out, does the data support,
right?
Does the data support the influence or lack of influence or whatever it is?
Right.
And I think it's out there. Like even Tech said, and I even brought up, I don't even see them doing that with guys.
No.
That I would, because I'm not. If I take another class and college class, and I have to do a thesis, I might actually try and do my thesis on that. Go actually do, because I have the survey here from over in England, but do a survey here. Go to FCC, go to HCC, go to Frostburg, go maybe to Towson, go to the University of Maryland, and sit there and do a survey. It's like, why isn't this? Why didn't you go into this field? Why didn't you go into this?
Yeah, I would love to interview some actual girls, right, and just see where
the data is adults.
Well, so you say, that what you've already,
right.
I guess if you're an adult, whatever, who have already chosen. But again, I don't know. But again, even when, like we've even discussed in when they're younger, where does that influence coming from?
Right. Or
lack thereof.
Yep.
Good job.
Well, another thing too, just a little food for thought too. Is
Speaking of food,
I know we gotta stop. Got some chicken. Is a lot of kids are also influenced about what they want to do still by what their parents do. Look at how many parents are in a particular field, and initially the kids are like, well, I'm not going into that, or I'm not doing it, I want to do this. But if you go back and revisit time, they're basically going to the same field as either whatever their mom's in or whatever their dad's in. I'd be curious too, is if that is something that influences their decision making when it comes to going into a career. I will say my dad was a software programmer. He was a programmer. And when I was young, I had a lot, because of what he was doing, I had a lot of interest in it until I saw what it actually entailed. Then I'm like, good luck, Dad. A programmer is a different type of animal. But it influenced me on my computers. It did influence my interest in computers, was my dad. So could that be something also that comes into play? My next door neighbor, both husband and wife are doctors, and just found out like two of their kids, they're still teenagers. The one just went off to college. They're going to be doctors. Is that an influence of because they see what's going on with mom and dad, and that's what they're around their life when they're especially when they're kids? Could that be something to do with it?
I don't know. I would probably say the opposite. There's a lot of kids that don't.
Right.
Like I could be like, I could probably follow my dad's footsteps and be a drunk and beat kids, but I don't know. A lot of kids just think their parents are.
I'm not doing that.
Doofuses or something. I don't know. Whatever. But it could be. But again, it's. I think there's so much less of the quote unquote nuclear family,
right? Where
you had mom and dad, and even if mom and dad even if both of them are working, if mom's not home, because even mom stay home with the kids, and then a lot of times she would go to college, get her degree, and this and the other, stay home with the kids, and then once the kids got older, she would go whatever. But even then, I don't see that as being. I think that's less of the norm, especially you got the millennials. Millennials are sitting there saying, we're not. A lot of them are like, we're not going to get married. This, that, and we're not even doing this or that. So, I think the nuclear family is just as what it was is just going right down the tubes.
There's some. There was a woman that you would probably really love that made a comment this week. I saw it on the news, and she said that she was making this comment. The nuclear family is passe, and now it's all about who cares, single it's just it was a liberal how-to on running a family, or how not to run a family.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. So
being single, we'll see when you're sitting there in that empty kitchen by yourself, and you're crying in your Cheerios because you don't have anybody to.
That's Raisin Bran. I gotta keep regular.
Raisin Bran Crunch.
I do like Raisin Bran Crunch. Anyhow,
that's all I have.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think, all of us have done some really good research on this. This is definitely something that we could revisit.
I think there's more that we could dive into and whatnot.
I'm thinking we may have just scratched the surface on this, but yeah, I'm interested to find out. Your whole thesis for this is, where is the influence, or where is the lack of influence? That, I think, is the true question.
Or another one, or does the influence even matter? Is it just something that just is, it is what it is?
That's a good point.
So you have the three tiers right there. Influence, lack of influence, or it's just, it doesn't how much influence you have on them, that you're just going to be like, I ain't doing it.
Right. I think we have more research.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's all we got.
We'll get right on it
for this for this episode, and so I guess we will be back in 2 weeks
on Sunday.
I can do that.
Well, it's up to you.
You work on Saturdays now, right?
Yeah. So I'm free on Sundays.
Okay, that's fine.
Because that way we'll have probably more of a.
Yeah. So I guess to dovetail on what you've got. The more interest that we find, the followers and things like that. So the first thing, yes, we want you to like us and we want you to follow us. For those of you that are watching us on YouTube, catching the past content, please subscribe. It means a lot to us. It helps us as far as algorithms in the YouTube universe. So yes,
yeah. I wonder who wrote those dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
Rat bastards.
The guys from Google.
Yeah, the Goo. So that's the biggest thing. Like we've said before, like us, comment. We want you to comment on anything that we have gone over, especially with this. Please comment on it. If you know someone that is into this field, any type of input, anything that you have, please feel free to comment. If there's some subjects that we should be looking into, something that you would like us to delve into, please put it in the comments. I know that we would all appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep track of it, and we're going to answer everybody as quickly as we possibly can. So yeah, we need to get more followers, guys. So that's going to be the most important thing for all of us. We do not have sponsors. Damn you, Cole Haan, if you're out there, hashtag. This is all on us.
We could put a hashtag.
We don't have any sponsors.
Yeah. The Go RC Cola. Talk about old people.
I'm drinking that a circle water bottle.
There you go.
It's basically grown folks Kool-Aid, but
That's
there you go.
right. And I have little baby Yoda Grogu here. So yeah, I mean, all this is done with us. Gary actually he's the one that you don't see all the equipment behind us and everything. He is the one that is doing this, so it's done by us. Gary is the one that makes this happen. He is our editor. He is the guru when it comes to the interwebs. So there are no sponsors. We can,
That's why we keep having technical difficulties too.
That's right. But yeah, I mean, we can go over many different subjects. We're not limited on as far as what we can talk about until somebody doesn't like it. But yeah, I mean, we're pretty much open on that. So
Yeah,
again,
we'll
please,
dive into any subject. No
Absolutely.
subject is taboo.
That's right. So
If it's a category or a subject that nobody else is taught or nobody else will, and you just have questions, you're like, hey, what about this? And if we could, if it's something where we can make a show out of it,
absolutely,
a whole episode, I would say more so. Yeah,
absolutely,
we'll jump on it.
agreed. So everybody that is out there, thank you so much for taking the time out to watch us. Even if it's on, a later day, anything like that, we appreciate it. Again, please comment and let us know if there's anything that we have missed. If you have anything to add, if there's anything you disagree with, put it in the comments. We'd really appreciate it.
Or if you want to go dive a little bit further into this subject and you say, what about this? If you have a branch or something that you want to go off on this,
Absolutely.
put it in the comments and we'll definitely take a look at it.
Absolutely. So
And I guess we'll figure out what we're doing next week between now and then.
it's a surprise.
It's a surprise.
That's right.
It's always going to be a surprise.
We don't know what it is yet, but it's a surprise. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay, I just want to say real quick, here's my closing thing. Happy Easter, everybody.
Oh, happy Easter.
Have a good week. Have a good 2 weeks or whatever. And enjoy your time with family tomorrow.
Yeah,
And make sure if you're using real legs, make sure you find all them little sons of bitches because then they'll be staking up the place.
You got that right.
Ew.
Especially if you hunt for them in the house.
Oh,
Nobody does.
Oh, could you imagine?
Well, if it's raining, they might do
that is
a
true.
hunt in the house. Or
Just
something.
imagine missing one of them and stepping on it in your bare feet.
Oof.
Ooh.
Give me the willies.
Ooh.
On that note, sulfur and all that,
Ugh.
and steak. We will
Steak.
see you guys in 2 weeks, but
2
we'll be
weeks.
on Sunday.
That is correct.
What is that? Let's hit that real quick.
Let's get the phones.
Let's get so we know exactly what we're talking about.
Let's get those.
It'll be the 15th, I think.
You bet your recess on that?
No, it'll be the 16th.
What is it?
No, we got 1, 2. No, it's the 14th.
Okay. Well, I was too.
Whoops.
I was close.
Close enough.
Close but no cigar. All
Yeah.
right, so we will see you guys on the 14th of April. Do we have a time?
We can figure that out. TBT.
Yeah. We're not. I don't think we'll go late. We're not going to go late like this on a Sunday because I got to get up. It's a school night.
That's right.
So we'll probably be to maybe even get some of our European friends. Maybe we'll go around 2.
Ooh, I like that.
All right. So
2 it is.
yeah, let's go with 2. You want to just go ahead and do?
Let's do
2?
it too.
All right. So we're going to be next episode is going to be April 14th at 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you're listening to us from another country, well, figure that out. Use your math.
Yes. Same as how you all went ahead an hour tonight. You're all a little late.
We're
Does
all
everybody else have daylight savings?
All Europe went ahead an hour tonight.
Well, then why they keep making fun of us and shit? That we got daylight savings time.
Because we're the ones that always talk about changing it. They
No.
don't. We're not going to change that. I'm going to put that in the law. No, you ain't.
I want to
Shut
change
up.
it.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Doesn't make any sense. But anyway.
So 2:00 on the 14th of April, next show. We will put it on Discord and Instagram and stuff, and hopefully we'll get to a subject before then. A couple days from then, so we can at least give you a highlight of like what we're going to be dealing with.
Yeah, it'll be a nice break the day before tax day to watch us.
There's always one that wants to tank it right there.
I guess we could talk about taxes.
No.
No.
This would be a bunch of cussing and
that's
whatever
very
else.
touchy with me right now, too.
Oh, boy.
There we go. All right,
Here we
so
go.
see you guys. Check all our stuff, Instagram, everything else. You'll find out everything that's going on. You can even ask questions on there, and we will respond to everything that we get.
Absolutely.
So, love you guys. We will see you. Let me get my button. Here's my button.
Push your button.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys.
My button's not working.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.